Gentlemen, it is now 7 o'clock. I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. If you would rise with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And first on our agenda, we have a presentation from the Centralia FFA.
You want to go over there?
I'll see where you're rolling.
Sarah,
We have this on.
Sarah, could one of you please introduce just right now, and then when we get done, we can do it now, the names of folks and what you're doing, what you're gearing up for, okay?
So, just go down one and choose a couple of these. I'm Sarah Oliver.
Brandon Haskell.
Merry Christmas.
Dominic Dunn. Danny Notler.
What we're doing is an FFA. Every spring we have a contest called Area, and then we move on to districts and state. One of our competitions is called Ag Issues, which is what we're studying. We pick a topic and study it and form a 10 to 15 minute presentation over the topic and form a portfolio and present it to individuals such as you guys. So at this time, we will begin our presentation and we hope you like it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the U.S. Senate hearing determining the legalization of unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs for commercial use. I am Sarah Oliver, Missouri State Senator, and I will be presiding over these hearings. Those speaking in favor of legalization are Kylie Chrisman, Consumer Protection Advocate, and Brandon Haskell, a local farmer. Those speaking in opposition of legalizing UAVs are Dominic Dunn, FAA, Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Specialist in the FAA, and Daniel Notler, homeowner in opposition of UAVs. The use of UAVs began during World War I. The trend continued through World War II. From the 1910s until now, UAVs have advanced immensely and are now able to carry video and infrared readings. These technologies raise concerns of privacy invasion for some individuals. The subject matter of these hearings will pertain to both the pros and cons of unmanned aerial vehicle use in agriculture. To ensure fair discussion, you'll hear from each side twice, beginning by hearing the opening statements of those in favor. I'd first like to call on Brandon Haskell.
Hello, my name is Brandon Haskell, a local farmer that uses drones in my field for agriculture use. Drones, they play a vital role in my farm as they increase yields and save time. Drones are an easy-to-use tool that can help me increase income per acre by $90 or to even $110. Drones come with crop health imaging, which allows the farmer to see more than the human eye. It shows a color contrast between sunlight being absorbed, plant health, water quality, and vegetation index calculation. Drones also, with latest GPS technology, can have borders around your field so your drone does not end up in someone else's property. With drones, it does not take as long to scout crops as it used to. It doesn't use gas, and in turn, it's better for the environment. Drones also come with a fail-safe, which means if the drone does fail, it can come to home on command. The drone may also contain a parachute, which means if it does fail, it can smooth fall to earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn.
Hello, my name is Dominic Dunn. I am a UAV specialist in the FAA. The FAA stands for Federal Aviation Administration. 400 UAVs have crashed, creating a danger to everyone involved. This is why the FAA has come out with a rule that states you must have a line of sight with a UAV. A UAV has crashed on the White House lawn, and just now the president wants to come out and say that we need to protect the right to privacy of the people. In an article that the FAA has come out with, it states that UAVs cause potential threats to commercial airlines. A drug-toting drone has crashed a few miles from the U.S. border in a supermarket parking lot in Mexico. This is why the FAA has a rule of 55 pounds or less.
Thank you. Ms. Chrisman.
Good evening. I'm Kylie Chrisman, the Consumer Protection Advocate. Back in the 1800s, an agricultural revolution had occurred throughout the world. Particularly in Britain, the population grew by 4 million, but Europe as a whole grew by 60 million. Because of the agricultural revolution, the risk of death by famine was lowered because of the surplus of food. So people were eating better, They are healthier, have better hygiene and sanitation, improved medical care, and slow death rates. According to the USDA, as of 2014 in Missouri, the number of crops planted was 9,235,000 acres. And the number of crops harvested was 9,005,000 acres. This is a 230,000 acre crop difference. How many of these crops could have been treated or replanted to be able to grow and produce? With drones, we're able to get a bird's eye view of our fields to be informed of these bare spots or plant deficiencies that can be replanted or treated. Therefore, be able to harvest more crops to be able to feed our growing world.
Thank you, Ms. Crispin. Finally, Mr. Knopfler.
Hello, my name is Mr. Knopfler. I am a corn, soybean, and cattle farmer in Thompson, Missouri. I am opposed to unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, because they will invade the privacy that we, as Americans, have secured to us in the Bill of Rights contained in the U.S. Constitution, specifically in the Fourth Amendment. According to an article from ABC News, 33% of Americans oppose using drones to monitor or spray crops, while another third support it. Only 27% of Americans favor using drones for aerial photography. Privacy and safety are key concerns. On Monday, January 25th, 2015, a 2-pound drone crashed onto the White House's front lawn. Secret Service later determined that this UAV did contain a camera, and precautions were made to determine whether it was being used for spying. According to an article from the Wall Street Journal, President Barack Obama said himself, "We need regulations to ensure unmanned aircraft aren't dangerous and that they're not violating people's privacy." Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will go into further questioning. Mr. Haskell, in what ways have UAVs improved your farm?
UAVs have improved my farm due to precision ag. My drone can show where something needs to be changed. Wrong amounts of fertilizer and chemicals can lead to terrible things harming the crops.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn, in what ways are civilians at risk if UAVs are in the air?
In a federal study indicating the major vulnerabilities of UAVs, hackers spoof or fake GPS satellite navigational signals are one of the main concerns. There's also an elevated risk of privacy invasion.
Thank you. Ms. Chrisman, you mentioned the agricultural revolution. Do you believe that this could invoke another revolution?
I do. With new technologies developing, agriculturalists should be able to increase these new technologies to promote a new era of agriculture opportunities. For example, MU has FAA approval to fly drones at a research center. There is discussion at MU that 3 to 5 possible acre plant crop rotation project can be monitored by a drone to see how the plants are impacted by climate change or periodic drought. Also, according to an article about drones being used to monitor winery grapevines, written by Amelia Uri, the fleet of the drone is used to take detailed shots of the winery grapevines, then it analyzes that data with an app, and then uses automatic irrigation or fertilization systems to target these vines that are suffering from a heat wave or drought.
Thank you. Mr. Nodler, how has your privacy been personally invaded by UAVs?
Well, one day I was out checking some of my fields and some of my cattle, and I was walking around and everything was fine, and I heard this like buzzing noise. Took me a little bit and everything was fine. I was walking around and that noise became quite louder. I looked up and there directly above me was an unmanned aerial vehicle and as it came closer I was able to determine that it did have a camera, and so the assumption was made that it was taking pictures or taking video of the privacy that I have a right to and was in violation.
Thank you. Mr. Haskell, do you believe your UAV was a wise purchase? Considering the price of UAVs, was there any profit returned?
Most definitely. Like I said earlier, the farmer can increase the amount of money per acre by $90 or to even $110. With a total of 6 acres, you should be able to pay for a medium-sized drone.
Mr. Dunn, would you like to expand on some of the injuries caused by UAVs recently?
The injuries that I have seen range from birds flying into the UAV, and the UAV itself flying into innocent civilians. And with UAVs are not allowed in Class A airspace due to the UAV's airspace and commercial airspace colliding. And with UAVs, with a simple malfunction, a UAV that weighs approximately 2 to 3 pounds could be crashed into an innocent civilian. The population is at risk because of all the inexperienced pilots and the design of the aircrafts. A article that has came out, a UAV has crashed on a highway in Florida and it exploded on the highway and the highway was shut down. There was no injuries reported, just the UAV and the highway itself.
Thank you. Ms. Chrisman, do you believe that UAVs will improve agriculture enough to feed a growing world?
Yes, I believe it will. The population of the world is expected to reach 10 billion in the next century. Oh, no, I also,
No.
oh, wait, I got it now. Okay, there's like some. With the success that UAVs in agriculture are having, the yields which I doubt will defeat the population. According to an article written by the American Farm Bureau Federation, drones scout fields for farmers to find areas with nitrogen deficiency, irrigation lapses, soil erosion, or insect or weather damage. This allows the farmer to see these problems and take action. This also saves them time and expense of treating larger areas and increases the probability of a more efficient harvest.
Thank you. Mr. Nobler, if UAVs are legalized for commercial use, it's projected there'll be 10 billion in the sky. How would this make you feel?
If this actually happened, I would not feel safe. It is not uncommon for these UAVs or unmanned aerial vehicles to malfunction while in the sky and fall. With this being the case, it leads to the danger of those on the ground being struck. More than 400 drones have crashed in major military accidents since the year 2001.
Thank you. At this time, each individual made their closing statements. Mr. Haskell.
As the future gets closer and closer, the agriculture field is needing a new technology, and drones are the answer. Drones are a great investment and are great for the environment. They are the new farmer's eye in the sky.
Mr. Dunn.
The FAA is against unmanned aerial vehicles for commercial use because of all the accidents and problems that we as a whole are having with UAVs. As Jenny said earlier, with more and more of these UAVs in the sky, we're going to have more and more problems with privacy invasion. Another problem that we're having with these UAVs is that they are crashing due to lack of preparation of the pilots.
Ms. Chrisman.
There are many starving families in this world to begin with, and the population is growing more and more every day. Agriculture might not be able to keep up without a little help. For an example, drones. According to the article I mentioned earlier about the American Farm Bureau Federation, the agriculture sector is expected to benefit from the use of drones 10 times as much as other industries with rapid adoption. Therefore, a more productive crop is being planted and harvested to help feed our growing, hungry world.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Nobler.
President Barack Obama said so himself. We need regulations to ensure unmanned aircraft aren't dangerous and that they're not violating people's privacy. These UAVs can come equipped with cameras that can potentially lead to spying. There are too many loose regulations, and so people feel that they are above the law, and therefore that none of this obtains to them. It is predicted that there will be approximately 10,000 drones in the sky in the modern world, and malfunctions happen with everything, and this will just put us all in more danger.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the Subcommittee on Aerial Aviation, you've heard both the pros and cons of unmanned aerial vehicle use in agriculture. It is up to you to deliberate the facts and form a decision. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions for our panel?
We need practice on if you got any.
I'll ask the question. What type of insurance is available for UAVs, if any?
Well, there isn't any proper insurance agency that covers it, but as Brandon said, there are certain safety precautions that can be taken to make sure that the drone doesn't fail and returns home safely.
How many incidents have there been where UAVs have gotten close to airlines? commercial airlines specifically?
I haven't really found any, but I will look for some. And the ones that the FAA, I found one that said they have put through a scenario the FAA did that if UAVs do get close to commercial airlines, it's going to cause potential threats to airlines.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a really set number, but I've heard of a couple like on the news.
I think there's been a couple that they literally were close to a commercial airline.
If they were to crash into a commercial
No
airline,
doubt.
it would be devastating.
No
So
doubt.
that's why so many precautions are being taken to prevent that.
I've seen other commercial uses. One that comes to mind is a photographer for wedding photographer. I don't know if you've seen that. He had an aerial shot and he lost control of his UAV and it slammed into the bride and groom.
Oh, why did I hear about that one?
It didn't kill him, but it injured him.
Get some pictures, it'd be free then.
But it was on the news several months ago.
Wow, we'll look into that, thank you.
I'm curious why the regulation is for commercial use. I mean, so right now the prohibition is UAVs for commercial use, but for private use, it's fine, correct?
Correct.
It seems the opposite to me. It seems odd that that would be the case, because for commercial you could bond the use. You could say you must have insurance, you must have all of the financial things. As a person, I can't regulate that. Why would they have done it that way?
If it was used for commercial use, there would be so many more people using them.
So you believe it's just purely the number that it would just be an explosion? But as a person using it, I wouldn't have that?
Kylie,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, Kylie, would you like to expand?
Well, here was one through my
Yeah.
head. The main thing that people are really looking at is privacy issue, and I agree with you that it seems opposite, because if it's for recreational use, anyone can be spying too, but, I mean, these are gonna be farmers that are using it specifically for their fields, and you can take the precautions like sign a contract or something about it, saying like, I will strictly use this for my fields, and if they're not and they're caught, then yeah, they have to face consequences.
See, to me as a company, it's easier for me to say it's required that you have a license. It's required that you be bonded or insured. It's required that I can make all these stipulations about it. If I only make it open to you as a person, it's much more difficult for me to have all these stipulations around it, in my opinion. I'm just curious.
I think they might, look at it like a driver's license or motorcycle license or something specific like that. The government, they can get pretty specific on what they want a license and what they don't.
I know,
So,
I don't disagree.
I don't. So,
I know with like the Amazon, they tried to do drones for their company,
right.
but the only problem they had was that they couldn't see it visually. And maybe the problem with like commercial use is you've got a company that's sending like 1,000 drones out at one time. You have 1,000 more drones that could affect the public than one person.
Just flying around the time.
Yeah, I saw a video of that. That scared me.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's,
I had a question, but you can give either a legal answer or a philosophical answer. Who owns the sky and at what height?
And commercial, or no, isn't it in urban areas, like you own a certain amount, do you remember how much that is? Like there's a certain amount in the sky you can buy, you have to buy like certain amounts of air on the precise unit, but whoever owns the ground below it, owns the sky above it, correct then?
That seems to be the philosophical question. Since they made this presentation, I've read some of that, and the two questions are height and privatization. I had one that mysteriously crashed over around Landon's house when it just got away from me, and I haven't seen it since. Now, I think there's some criminal prosecution, but he claims he never heard it or saw it. Those two things that you talk about, that's the rub and the great debate with respect to the drones.
And another thing, was that recreational use or was that kind of like for the police department?
They are being used. That's not what I was getting
Well, listen,
at.
I know you guys can't be out all night.
They are, like, I heard on the news that they're actually, police department was actually using it to scout over, like, forests to look for, like, a missing child. So I'm like, yeah, that's being used too, not only for, like, commercial use, but that's, I think that's a pretty big deal.
Rescue use or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's the same old thing, it just depends on where you are. The
Right.
Forest Service is using those for those kind of things.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna use one to say fly over, that was part of the great debate. Could law enforcement fly one over, say, Alderman Magley's house, to detect an indoor drone?
Exactly, yeah.
That's the great debate. I say yes, but you know, that's just me.
A little biased.
Yeah.
Mayor asked these fine young folks to show up here tonight, put on their presentation after they did such a great job at Kiwanis that meets on Thursdays at Centralia Social Club. And they did just such a yeoman's job out there. And where are you headed now with your competition?
We just got done with the contest, Centralia contest. We just got done with that, and I came here, and then area is next Wednesday.
This coming, well, a week from this coming Wednesday?
Yes, a week from this.
And where will that be?
Here, yeah.
Here.
Ooh, that's nice.
Good
I
job.
didn't know where it was.
Well, I'm sure everyone here agrees, we're just awfully proud of you, and folks like you are the future of Centralia. We're just awfully proud of you.
Yeah.
And I just thought you did a great job. We wish you the best.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
All
And the
right.
rest of this meeting will be riveting.
You're
more than
I've got a
welcome.
speech to give at that competition, so.
You're more than welcome to sit there.
Yeah, but it's a full practice.
It will be on YouTube later, in case you can't
It's
get
cool,
it.
watch it.
Yeah. You watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch what?
Thank you.
Camera guy. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Honey.
Thank
Oh,
you.
jacket might be nice.
Thank you all very much.
There you go.
Thank you.
honey.
Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Moving on to comments from citizens.
I don't know what we got.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Hearing none, moving on to public safety. City prosecutor, any report?
The plan is right now, is bad weather, something else comes up. The court date that would have normally been the municipal court date would normally have been the fourth Monday, has been moved by the court's order to the third Monday, which will make it this coming Monday. The plan is this: we'll do court, and then probably do a little learning with April session for the department, and then she'll probably come and do a little presentation, or at least present herself to the board at this time. And if we could put her at the front of the agenda, she has a long way to drive. So,
That's next Monday, right?
this coming Monday, yes, sir, full council.
Okay. Thanks.
Moving on to the police department, there's an activity report in your packet.
I didn't see anything about drones.
Did you say something?
You droned.
No drilling.
Wow.
You cut that.
Comment. Any questions or comments on the activity report? Hearing none. Moving on to capital projects and budget requests for fiscal year 2016.
Well, just, Chief is gonna give some more detail, but, there is, money in the budget for one police car, at least 3 body cameras, new crime scene camera, and, where's one right? It was a small,
That little item we're gonna get for the cell phone investigations thing.
Right, okay. And then actually some taser money, for a taser, a new taser.
Yes,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
tapes we have, just fortunate, you won't have to use them much, but gotta keep them on tapes.
Crime scene camera, 3 body cams, new car.
Cell phone investigation tool.
And the chief has some details about a police car that would be available right up, immediately at the beginning of the fiscal year. And we would be, that'd be in, one out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want to share any more?
I spoke with the patrol garage today. They have among others, but when it all boiled down to, they have a 2011, it's Centralia Police Department white. Got 52.5, 53.5, one or the other. Price tag on that is $14,350. Now, that's less than we had budgeted, but the beauty of it, the beauty of purchasing a police car through patrol is, particularly with how we buy them, they've already got the new light bar mounted on them, and the siren box, all the equipment is there. It precludes someone, say Bob or somebody that understands that stuff best you can, from having to spend on the clock 3 or 4 days putting the light bar on it, or and then once you get all the wiring done, turn the left turn signal on and the trunk comes up. Stranger things have happened. Well, that's just the beauty of it. Now, let me just say, please, in the interest of fair play, Ford Chevrolet has sent me 2 or 3 cars around that they found. They're 2014s, 15s. And although you all have a checkbook, I know, and although I appreciate that, I just don't think we're at a place, city government, where we can spend a bunch of money on one car and still have to outfit the thing. Those folks, it's not like those folks down at the patrol garage don't know what will happen if they sell me that car. I'll drive down there every day. But I'd like to at least get this purchase on the agenda for the full council meeting, get that approved, and get that deal done. We're gonna get rid of, this will come as a great shock to Ryan Russell, I know he's in love with cars. We're gonna get rid of vehicle 829, the old white Crown Vic that we've had. It's got 180,000 on it. It needs front brakes and rotors right now.
Is that the one that Raymond used to drive?
No, we got rid of that long
Okay.
time ago. But, no, car's just got a ton of miles on it, just
Okay.
done with that, just done with it. So, that's my plan. And you can speak up, not like it, throw a rock at me.
And that 14,350 for the used highway patrol car, and that includes
Yes, sir.
all the package
Yes,
and
sir.
everything?
They took a little additional money off of it because I've talked to him 2 or 3 times today and prepared to talk to him many more times.
Okay. Great, thank you very much.
And the investigation tools from our latest cell phone investigation training.
Yes,
Excellent.
yes. Tim Cripps has got he likes that kind of stuff, I can't stand it. He likes that kind of stuff and he understands it.
And you just recently went to the.
Yes, we did that free training over at Audrain County and the sheriff's office with those folks. And what we're trying to do is, the demand is so great on that cyber crimes unit with the sheriff's office. It's, the demand is so great. If we can do some of that and prevent having to take stuff down when we're tied up, I just think we're better off.
Okay, any other from the police department? Moving on to the fire department, activity reports in your packet. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on to capital projects and budget requests for 2016.
On page 103 of the budget that you received, there's a $44,000 line item. This would allow for the initial payment, if approved by the council, for a 5-year lease purchase on a mini pumper. I'm not crazy about buying vehicles by lease purchase. This is a specific model, though, a specific unit, that it's a demo, and Chief Rush can give you.
We're gonna have a timeout because they sold the truck.
They sold the truck.
Yeah. See, fire trucks are one of them things where either guess you're gonna buy it, or it's gone down the road. So I mean, you have to be
Be ready to pull
you
the
gotta
trigger.
be exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it works when you find a used fire truck.
So we need to have the money in the budget for the next time one comes available, I guess.
That's kind of how we bought
Yeah.
the last one.
Yeah.
Well, we can leave the 44,000 in the budget then. There's also, we have built up over the years a small amount, I think it's 37,000 in the tobacco tax. I'll have to check to make sure that's correct, as I was putting it together last night. With the idea that if something came up this year, that we could move forward on that. I guess one of the things that I would want to know from the committee is lease purchase something you can stomach for a vehicle like this? There's another very expensive vehicle we're looking at in this year's budget as well. You have to spend some money just to buy money. I think, what was it, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood, on this vehicle, it was something in the order of, the loan that Tom had talked about was in under 4%, or right at 4%, and it was still gonna cost over the total term of the loan, somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000 to $7,000 for money.
Well, I don't like the idea of doing that, but sometimes, how much is the pumper truck that you were looking at?
It was 196 fully equipped.
And that was
But he called me,
was that 1 ton or?
That's a 554 on a 554
Okay,
chassis. Now, he did call and talk to me the other day after he sold the truck, and he said we could look into having to make one, and we could take off, like some of that truck, we probably wouldn't have used some of it, but it was there because it was a demo truck. So we could, he'd like to come and sit down and sometimes just see what a truck would cost building one.
Make us a deal.
Yeah.
Make us a deal.
So I mean, like I said, some of them had a few things on there we probably would have never used, but it was on there because it was built for that purpose to show what can see if
Yeah.
might buy it.
Well, somebody did.
Well, right now it's an unknown, so I mean,
Exactly.
let's find out what the number is.
Yeah.
Chief, if you sit down with him today, you could write him a check to the day and say, order, build it, how long will it be for you?
6 months.
6 months.
Can't you just be like Larry and go get one and serve?
I tried.
He tried.
Have Larry call.
No. Well, that's why I got to do this early, so I.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think you need to talk to him, I mean, find out, it's an unknown right now, we don't even know what the number is, so
Right.
let's find out what that is so we know what we're standing.
Because, I mean, we talked about, Matt and I talked about seeing about a trade, even take some of these older apparatus like the 1976 International sitting over there and the red 1104, the rescue squad, we don't hardly ever use, and they absolutely don't want them. I mean,
Wasn't Columbia looking at upgrading several of their fire trucks all at once?
Boone County.
Oh, it's Boone County?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't you kind of jump on board with them and get a package deal or something like that? I don't know.
I don't know how, I mean, they're buying big truck engines and stuff like that,
Oh, okay.
we're trying to downsize and,
No, that's fine. Just a thought.
but I mean, in the meantime, I've had the wild idea, maybe, we have some guys that run to the North Station. The North Station was made before my time because of railroad tracks. We had no access to get, the train was on a track, used to sit for years, for minutes at a time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about having them come over, everybody come to this station and maybe bring the 86 engine over here with this one and moving the red and stripping it down and putting it on the trucks. And I might see how that works and stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of help out response times and things like that.
All right.
We'll just see what happens.
Would you want Danny to bring this
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
to one of the committee meetings?
and I can get him to come, I mean, he said he would come to a fire meeting and we could sit down first and kind of
Okay.
see what we need. and I can bring it
I
to
would
you.
suggest that, and then Debbie can kind of line out what we need, and he
I can,
can bring a proposal.
I can even tell y'all when you come to a fire meeting, you're more than welcome to come sit down.
Yeah.
Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Not that that isn't a big number, but is that the only request you have?
That was basically the only capital request.
Okay.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, that's our.
That's what I meant, that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
He had some, you budgeted some money this year and he's already got the extrication tool. And
The only other thing is we would need to discuss the air pack issue, whether we want to do that or not, you know.
okay. I thought we were moving forward with this.
Okay, you know, he just, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's budgeted this year,
Okay.
so.
I mean, for 2016.
Yeah,
It's in, if he can get it by April 1st, there'll be no questions if we want to carry it over to next year.
okay. Yeah, the fire department, all brand new.
It probably ought to be carried over regardless,
Ours
if we don't get it before the first of the year.
You know,
Moving on, fireworks.
Denny has indicated, and I have no problem with this, that we should go ahead and proceed with J&M Displays. There was another company that made contacted me. I guess they've contacted us in the past. They're convinced they can do it for cheaper. I'm not certain that cheaper is always better when you're firing mortars into the air.
Well, them guys aren't the one to fire.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But when somebody's selling us something that we've had very good luck with J&M Displays, they've always thrown in a little bit extra as long as we make our purchase in time. If the board is or the committee is interested in seeking bids, it wouldn't take very long.
You've been happy.
I don't know how much cheaper they were gonna be. You know, they pretty much look at one, well, we have a certain set budget what we spend on fireworks, so they're gonna want to know the same thing, so.
Yeah.
Whether they give it in $100 or so, say they're cheaper, I mean, I don't know.
You've been happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, no problem.
the other question is did the other firm, did they offer the training that was required?
I have, I don't know.
And the insurance?
I'm sure they all have it, though, I'm sure they all have it.
Yeah, I didn't ask that question, so.
Because I think in the past, there's been a problem with one of them that, I was thinking that we dealt with it.
Yeah.
They didn't offer the insurance, or they didn't offer the training or something.
Yeah, J&M always has a
Yeah,
spot where you
yeah.
go.
My personal belief is when it comes to something that's an explosive like that, and I know what the budget, I mean, I know how much we spend on that, I'm gonna defer to the person who's setting them off, the people who's setting them off. I'm gonna defer to their recommendation as to who we stick with.
You know, we can cheaper is better necessarily.
I concur.
So I'm more than happy to stick with our current supplier,
Get what you pay for.
current vendor. I'm not the one who's lining up.
You're more than welcome to come back here.
Yes.
We never get a volunteer.
That's kind of how my
Yeah.
conversation with Denny went. So this guy said it would be cheaper, and I think it was a few $100s cheaper. But I mean, we're at $37.75. I think is what we've spent the last few years, and I think they were kind of close to about $3,000. But you know, when the guy who's setting them off really feels very strongly about going with the company he's familiar with, $700.
Our current vendor also throws in some free stuff.
If we pay them, they've always in the past. I don't want to promise for them, but they've always added about 8% extra if we get the payment to them in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
We've had no duds from day and end, you know, you have a dud, you have to do something with it at the end, and that's, we have not had any.
Yeah.
Mine's good. Unless, I don't know what the rest of the council's feeling is, but.
I'm a little crazy.
If we were talking about huge amounts of money, I might.
No, exactly.
A little more interested.
Have to do that. Do if I was
Wow. Any other under fire department? Hearing none.
We probably, did you want to?
You don't need to go to closed session.
I just want to make you guys aware that if you didn't see it on TV, that we're handling all primary calls inside the city limits for fire and for EMS now. We've had a couple meetings with Boone County Fire Protection District. The second one, it was just Scott Olson, but they're facing essentially an ultimatum from their board that they either have to, Centralia would have to pay for EMS service, for whether it's for all calls or for just the Delta and Echo calls, the high trauma calls. That they had gotten to the point where both call volume, when we had a discussion a number of years ago, the call volume in Centralia was really necessary to justify having Station 10 fully operational. If their call volume has increased to the point where, and I don't know if Denny, if I'm doing this wrong or if that's, but the call volume has increased to the point where the amount of calls they're running in Centralia is a significant, they've got over 500 calls a year, and now the calls in Centralia are, it's hard for them to justify running calls without getting reimbursed. And they're going through the same discussion in Columbia and other places, and right now we're the only ones who aren't paying anything. Am I close?
basically, yeah, we're just, their board is up, you know, they think, but we're Centralia is getting a free service that they're having to pay in other parts of the county, and they want to check.
Did they
Yeah,
indicate what amount that check would be?
Yeah, it is.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what I understood them to say is there wasn't really a halfway negotiation point. What they'd be looking for is what would be equal to about the property tax assessment that they gain from Centralia, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of what we already pay, the total fire budget. So somewhere in the neighborhood of going from $110,000 to $220,000
A year?
a year. So basically the only other step would be merger. It's the only other. So unless you guys are interested in pursuing that.
No.
No, I don't think so.
The last person that mentioned that in here is long ago, so
I'm just this is what was presented to us, and
Yeah, no, that's-
Denny didn't fall out of his chair at the proposition by any means.
Mhm.
So now, of course, we still have mutual aid, And they're there to back us up if we have additional needs. But we've been training guys for some time, and
Yeah.
you know, if we need to spend more on training, then we'll spend more on training. But
Mhm.
that's, that's the only affordable option, and it's not a bad option.
Right.
All right then. Anything else for fire department?
Thank you very much.
We're moving on to emergency management.
I did have one quick announcement. The first public review draft of the hazard mitigation plan update will be available. They're going to have a meeting on the 17th, Tuesday the 17th, at 1:30 p.m. at the Boone County Fire Protection District. If anybody wants to be there, I plan to go. They've been moving forward, reviewing scenarios, etc., updating the plan, so that we will have a guide in case of anything from a earthquake or tornado to a pandemic flu.
Where's that at?
Boone County Fire Protection District, and I believe it's in the northeast classroom at 1:30 p.m. on the 17th. That is, it's not done. Well, there's going to still be, there'll be meetings after that, but that's when they're going to have the first public display, public unveiling of the draft plan.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. Take some good notes.
Okay. Moving on to protective.
I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong date. That's the next meeting of the group. The plan's first public presentation is this Wednesday at 1:30. I got to the right place, I got to the wrong date. There's gonna be, the next meeting is, so the unveiling is Wednesday,
The 10th.
March 11th, Wednesday the 11th.
Okay.
Tuesday the 17th is the next meeting, don't worry about that.
Okay.
The unveiling is Wednesday the 11th at
Okay.
1:30. So
Okay.
they sent both in the same evening.
Ah, okay.
Crazy.
All right. Protective inspection.
It's been pretty slow in terms of permit applications so far, but I went out to count the houses for sale and I came up with 38, and I talked to Darren Adams and he says that he got 38, and I guess that, to his mind, is a pretty low number. That 70, 75 is more like average, and that we've got a pretty short supply of housing stock.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of good news though. That means that that there's a incentive to build more.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have another good year for building permits.
I was talking to somebody that's looking to buy a house here in Centralia. And,
I know a person like that.
yeah, yeah. A couple, actually,
Yeah.
so.
I don't want to affect the market.
Yeah.
That's something you can discuss in closed
Yeah.
meetings. So we
That's
have to
it.
take-
That's got to understood. Go ahead.
So, on protective inspection, you know, we still have that, commercial building demolition, or community development block grant.
Yes,
Yeah, we're gonna start working on that soon.
yes. And, oh, by the way, there is budget in there, the $7,500 for demolition. Demolition or, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are two different options, $1,500 to tear a building down, or $3,000 to tear a building down and rebuild.
Yes,
Because
That's correct.
there are draft agreements for both. More recently, we've only had the demolition.
Right, we've only been doing the demolition.
Right.
yeah.
Now that it's starting to warm up, we need to visit our friend.
Yes. Need to present that option to him. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Moving on, general government and finance, economic development, chamber of commerce contract update. You've got contract in our packet. And Jenny is here to discuss.
It's, there are some additional things that we are doing from last year. Of course, Anchorfest is on here, the barbecue contest. Those are both up, well on their way for this year. We've already got probably the number of judges we're gonna need for barbecue already. They like to come here. So now we just have to get the teams. I've got one verbal commitment. So Anchorfest entertainment is done finally. We struggled with the Sunday entertainment because of the K-Love Awards. And that's always going to be a problem for us because that's kind of the, I don't know, the Grammys of Christian music. So everybody who's anybody is at the K-Love Awards. So, so we're trying to find some up and coming artists, and we found Finding Favor. They are getting some airtime on the radio, so hopefully that will beef up Sunday again. As always, you know, we have been buying Christmas decorations. That's listed in here. We've purchased, I think, 20 up to this point to replace the old ones. So we'll continue to work on that. And then a lot of the other things that we normally do. We are also doing a lot, recently started doing a lot with Facebook. We have now an Anchorfest Facebook and Anchor City Cook-Off Facebook, which we had before, and it really helped us with promoting that event to use Facebook. There is a Purchase with a Purpose page and a chamber page. And so when I see a chamber member business on the timeline, I'm sharing those to the chamber page and Purchase with a Purpose. Other businesses that are not chamber members, I'm sharing to the Purchase with a Purpose page. And then I've been going out and taking pictures, just randomly, different places, trying to just give a little bit of exposure to different businesses at different times. And they all seem to really like that. It's an opportunity for them to have something on Facebook that they want, and it kind of came out of the Elf on the Shelf at Christmas time that Neva started, and people started looking to see where the elf was going to be. And so we just kind of continued doing that and adding that, and that seems to be, you know, putting the businesses out there once again to an audience that sees Facebook. It seems to be a good way to keep people updated. We can share information about things going on in the community and different things like that. So that has been good. We also have, there's a ribbon cutting Thursday after Kiwanis, so is that still usually about 1:15, give or take? Yes. At the new building on Railroad Street, Russ's Stephanie Green's building. That will be Thursday, and then
This Thursday or next Thursday?
this Thursday.
Yes.
And then Grinders is going to host a chamber after hours on the 26th from 5 to 8, which should be fun, and you can watch the chamber Facebook page to find out more about that. I think she's going to unveil some coffees and give some people an opportunity to kind of vote on what they like, and with the proceeds going to Head Start. And I think those proceeds are to help with the cost for the lunch, the 100
lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. The chamber dinner is also coming up the 23rd of April. And we've received nominations, though the announcement of award winners will probably be later this week. So, and that's kind of where we are, and you know, in a nutshell, what's in here. There are other things listed in here that we do that are ongoing things that we've done. over the years. A big portion of the money we receive from the city is used for promotion, whether it's promotional materials, advertising, those kinds of things. And if you have any questions?
Thank you very much.
So in the packet at the next meeting will be an ordinance to renew the contract for 2 years at the same amount as we've done the last 2 years. With that, and the dates will be changed and the amended list of activities will be.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you much. Moving on to credit. Got a meeting minutes in your packet. And service contract is also in here.
Yep, I've submitted the contract for this upcoming term. We've had a pretty good, last meeting we had a pretty good meeting with Stacy Button, the new director of Columbia Ready, and then the executive VP, Bernie Andrews. I did a kind of residential Live Centralia tour for the new elementary school principal. And then a couple, actually, a longtime resident, but he has a girlfriend that is interested about the town, so I took him around. He's a one-time friend. And then Matt took Stacy and Bernie around and showed more of the industrial sites and things like that. And our relationship with them has already proven pretty well this year. We've already had 2 opportunities to either lease or sell buildings in town that are currently not really being used. And we look forward to taking advantage of that more for the rest of the year.
So the possible lease of Gary Adams' building is not going to work because the ceiling is too high.
They changed their requirements. When they first sent out the list, that building matched everything. We thought it was a good prospect, but then I guess they went back and revised some of their, I guess to probably weed out some more, but we were a good contender.
Yeah.
But the neat thing is that in the last 5 months, there have been 3 or 4 different inquiries from Ready through Gabe to look for potential sites for different types of businesses to open up here. So I think that we're enhancing that relationship, and I think that's a very good thing. You know, and with economic development, there's 100 attempts before something comes through.
Right.
But it's pretty exciting. We got, ribbon cuttings are. It's nice to have groundbreakings. It's better to have ribbon cuttings. We're having those, and we're developing a pretty strong relationship between Ready and Ready, and it's pretty good trend.
Yep.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I was Germany.
Oh,
70 of my closest high school buds.
And there's we showed Stacy and Bernie some different sites, and I think it's the one property which is may already be spoken for, but we got a contact about that as well. So it's I think it was valuable for them to see what the ground looks like.
And one thing, I kind of forgot to go in further, it was more, she was doing kind of what she called a listening tour. So, of course, we went around, or Matt went around with them, and then she kind of just sat there for the first 30 minutes or so and just asked us questions about Centralia, assets, advantages, disadvantages, what could we do stronger, what do other communities have that we don't. And I gotta say, while I was sitting there listening to the board and everybody else talk about it, I mean, we've got, like Matt said, we've got a very good trend and a lot going for us, and it was really encouraging to sit there and hear everybody kind of bragging on our town, and she sounded very impressed for
you know, our size, our proximity to Columbia, really what we all have to offer. So it was really encouraging.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And she's moved here recently from Flagstaff, Arizona,
Yeah.
and they do have snow there. They came up. I think everybody.
Yeah.
They're up in the mountains, and I think I asked her first, and then.
Picked a very cold day to visit.
Yeah.
I think we proved that Centralia doesn't know anything about geography.
Well, yeah. And I should have known, because I knew.
Do you want to mention who the guest speaker is going to be for the next credit meeting?
I thought I would let you.
Okay. I spoke to the individual, his name's John, from Community Foundations. I saw his presentation in Ashland last month, or January, and very intrigued at the proposition that he presented. And it's building a community chest, community foundation to help capture wealth from fleeing the community. For instance, when a person passes from this world, that person has generally gained some wealth, and when they pass, they transfer that wealth to their children, who 8 out of 10 times has moved to another community outside the state. So this gentleman will teach us how to capture that wealth and keep it here in the community. Teach individuals to invest in their community. We have a lot of retirement homes here. A lot of folks are coming back to you know, they graduate school here, they move out, get some education. When their parents pass, they come back, attend the funeral services, whatever, then they go back to their communities. Well, this program will help teach people how to invest in their community, whether they build a legacy fund or a specific fund for something that they are passionate about. And it's the beauty of the thing is tax deductible. So a person contributes to this fund, and that fund is able to provide scholarships or building opportunities or, you know, community events for years and years and years to come. So I would encourage everyone that's, if they're available, to come to the credit meeting on the 24th and listen to John speak.
Anything more for Craig? Questions or comments? Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you, Gabe.
Moving on to the park board, we have agendas and minutes from both January and February meetings. Park budget?
The park budget is included in the packet.
They want money?
They want money. They don't. You know, they're not asking for general fund subsidy this year. They paid the parks budget as submitted. I didn't make any changes except, well, I updated some of the estimated expenditures for 2000 for the current year. But in terms of the requests for next year, they are as submitted by Earl Bennett and Earl Bennett and Mike Kincaid and the board, and you'll find them there. And starting on page 183, the operations on 187, and then the recreation center on page 203.
It's good to see that they have over 2,700 members.
I noticed that, yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's outstanding.
That's impressive to just about anyone who's come through Centralia. You can't not be impressed by that. You so.
Moving on to the cemetery.
Well, I didn't put a spot for other there.
Oh, yes.
Which I should have. And what was I going to tell you? I thought that
It's a cliffhanger.
it is a cliffhanger. I know you guys are just dying to know what's going on in my head. I'll have to come back up on a resume, or else I'm not going to hang up the meeting.
As Mayor Wisen remembered. So cemetery report.
Phyllis Brown, the cemetery assessor, has a report on the bid opening.
Good evening.
Evening.
As you'll notice in your packet, there is a summary. I'm sorry?
Bid tabulation summary?
Yes. And I listed them from the highest to the lowest. We've had 4 bids this year. And I know in the past, a couple months ago, we had mentioned that the park department was interested in bidding this. And as you can see, they came out the highest. I know that Earl did a lot of figuring, pencil scratching, and due to the minimum wage going up, he had to increase some of his wages for those people who would be doing this, and so he was not the lowest bid. So, however, we do have a low bid of Central Missouri Lawn Care, which is owned and operated by Ryan Russell. And I do believe that he has the equipment and the know-how. He has experience of mowing cemeteries. That's very important for our cemetery board. And so we do recommend that you would consider giving the bid to Ryan Russell. As you can see, the bid will be for 3 years, and with the option of going for the 4th and the 5th year at a 3% increase for each of those additional years. So, does anyone have any questions?
How long has Hardesty been mowing our cemetery?
Well, I've been here for 7 years,
Mhm.
and he's been mowing it, I believe, for those 7 years.
Jim, you know?
That sounds about right.
Also, there, in this bid, it's understanding that each time they mow, they will weed eat. That has not been happening all the time in the past, but I've been assured that it will this time. And also in the past, there has been some concerns from different people in the community of the cut grass up on the stones, and that too will become a stop. So last year I had to wait it several days to see if the wind would blow the grass clippings off the stones, and I did not happen. I even got out of my car and went and cleaned them off.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, I do drive through there very frequently, even in the wintertime. So, but the cemetery board, we were not able to all meet at once. I sent out emails to everyone. We did have 3 ladies present at the time we did have a meeting, and I did hear back from John Kotlitz and Greg Pauley that they too recommend, all the cemetery members recommend that we would give the bid to Central Missouri Lawn Care.
I assume this will be an ordinance that will be up in fact.
Right. The sort of the concept was we'd approve the the successful bidder tonight giving me a week to draft the contract and have it ready for ordinance at next week's meeting.
And I would certainly entertain a motion.
So,
Well, I'm entertain a motion, so
Oh.
someone needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Tree board report. I don't see any information in the packet. I assume there's no report. Library board, see the email from Pat to the death in the family.
Someone on their board, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the board president, I apologize.
Think it's Angie Taylor.
Ah. So we have the agenda. Anything for library board, any questions? 2015 financial statements. Information's in your packet.
Continue to lag a little bit on water revenues, but in the electric department's, a fraction behind, but nothing causing me any great concern.
Anyone have any questions on the financial statements? Moving on to bills over $1,250. That occurs on page 75 of the PDF.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Pretty short list.
Yep, I'm sure it will grow by next week.
I'm in doubt.
We don't have the big power ones on there.
Yes, but wait, there's more. Hearing none, moving on to draft ordinance prohibiting animals during city festivals. Having a discussion earlier, I know, about some concerns on some of the verbiage in this. Specifically on,
Thank you, Phyllis.
thank you, defining the area was,
Yeah, pretty vague.
yeah, one of the questions. So we're going through this and obviously it's pretty much any domestic animal, wild animal, or, I did think it was kind of funny saying including any dog or fowl. Okay, pointing out the fact that they had a chicken, okay, fine, but.
I don't think we've had one of those, actually.
But you have the pettings in there sometimes.
But specifically, so when we start a festival, what defines where the festival is? Because specifically what it says is city property and on any public way. What actually says its defined boundary? So what can we say is the defined boundary of the festival?
Well, and David,
Depends on the festival.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah, it's
Makerfest
not-
would be the whole downtown area.
But barbecue isn't.
Yeah.
to closing there's a policy for closing a street that either the board can vote on it or the mayor and the police chief can approve a request to close streets. So one thing we could do is if we're going to have this ordinance be in effect, is that when they close the streets, that they define an area that is closed to animals. domesticated animals.
Yeah.
You guys are the ones enforcing it anyway, but I mean, to me, part of this is also,
It's not easy, and none of these ordinances, excuse me, are ever easy. Give some thought to a lot of these vendors that come in, have folks my age and above, they have their dogs. So,
And that has been the case
yeah,
more than once, but those people keep their animals contained, and I don't know how you define the difference.
well, that's something to keep in mind.
Mhm.
I mean, one thing that can be done as far as vendors are concerned, we could just say no. Let it go out that way. That may cause some difficulties.
Is that gonna turn some of the vendors away then?
It's possible.
It's possible,
In the
yeah.
past, there have been some
Yeah.
that would have. I don't know that there's any at present, are there?
Well, see, like craft vendors, some of those change yearly, so
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to have a crafter that always brought her dog, but I never saw it outside of her booth ever.
Right.
You know, the problem stems from people bringing their dogs as spectators,
Mhm.
not as vendors.
Spectators, snakes around,
Yeah.
neck,
Birds on the shoulder.
all that.
Yeah.
I understand. It's the right thing, what we're trying to do here. With respect to the area. And all of you have been around here a long
Yeah.
time.
I mean, Acrefest has several different areas where events are happening. The 3-on-3 basketball contest, the archery shooting, you know, downtown. There's a lot of different areas, the beer tent or whatever. We just, you know,
Well, the beer tent, I don't know, I mean, that's
Well, that's
really
not
not
ours.
part of,
Yeah, that's
because that's part of
Right.
their business.
Yeah.
So that would be
Yeah.
different,
yeah.
I would assume.
Were you tasked with doing this?
Well, the council had, or the board had asked
Merit
Merit to draft an ordinance.
Merit?
Yeah.
And the idea was that we bring it for discussion, to get this kind of stuff, aired.
Ironed out.
Ironed out, exactly.
Yeah,
In time so that it would be able to be adopted before the.
for Acrefest.
For this year.
We have 4 Anchorfest and also in such enough time that we
You
can
can
announce
send that
it.
information out to your vendors,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if that's what you do.
right.
Right.
Now,
I didn't worry.
No. He was supposed to ask.
Well, let me, Don, I think you're one of the ones who have asked.
Yes.
Yes.
Obviously. Yeah.
Could you, as Tom Hanks or was it Denzel Washington used to say in the movie Philadelphia, explain it to me as if I'm a 6-year-old, what the problem is. I mean, I think I get it, but or somebody else, explain what we're trying to cure.
I can help with that.
We've had a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of people down there at Anchorfest.
Yes.
And we have people bringing dogs in, dogs can get stepped on.
Very close proximity.
You've got and you don't know whether the dog will bite somebody when they get stepped on. You know, it's gonna be accidentally. The other thing is you got a lot of food down there and you really don't need dogs running around crapping. But last year, I believe it was, we had a guy who decided to bring his python down there, right around his neck.
Probably the same guy who's been full too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been here more than once.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I mean, this wasn't a new thing.
We've tried to run them out in the past, and most people cooperate, but we really have no,
We don't have any meat on the plate.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can't force them
Should be
to
possible.
keep the animals out. And, you know, we've had rather large animals, we've had rather small animals, but, you know, the snake last year was really kind of the tipping
Icing
point.
on the cake.
Yeah, we gotta do something to stop this. And so,
And Sunday seems to be a big opportunity to show
Yeah.
bigger dogs.
it's
People
not that
walking
we're,
through the car show and.
that we're
and all
looking for
that.
people to give, the police
Yes.
department to give out tickets. most people, when you stop and say, look, we don't allow dogs here, they'll take them out and that's fine. And if we can tell them there's an ordinance against it, and if you refuse to cooperate, we will call the police and they will give you a ticket. I would suspect that would take care of the rest of it.
That'll take care of the bulk of it.
I mean, we're not trying to burden anybody with this. We just don't want the animals down there with all the people that are involved.
This would be me, maybe not you all, but this would be me. And if I'm wrong, just say, I'm sure you will. The car show, that's kind of an adult.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of-
totally different.
It's totally different than compacted down
Right.
here on the square.
It is very
That's
different.
my concern is the compaction down here on the
Yeah,
square.
we're really not that concerned about the car show.
The car show, I mean, sure,
When
folks,
they're on the
they're-
street, yeah.
Yeah.
and so, since I've been here, the jumping up and down folks did was with respect to the snake and the chicken hawk or whatever it was. I don't know. But we need to address it. Now, am I part of the problem? Yes, because I don't have a solution. I think we're on to something here.
But I don't see any reason why, the application can't include the limits of what's being defined, because we know on Anchorfest what portions of the streets, which is basically where the carnival is the streets, other than just all the streets downtown. And of course the city square. So, that pretty well defines it. It's fairly easy to do, and I think for any other venue, we could do the same thing.
But-
Part of the application is you define the area that's being, where the animals will be
But if
excluded.
you're gonna, I'm telling you, somebody will take us to task, instead of saying the north side of Singleton to include the sidewalk, don't do that. Go to Railroad Street. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to get one block bigger than around the square. See what I mean?
Well, I mean, I can see if you set boundaries, I could see the potential of, for example, we have a really good problem on a Sunday and they have 400 cars. And those 400 cars are gonna be outside
Oh,
any kind of boundary that you set up.
right, but
You know,
again, the focus
Well, I mean, to me.
is down.
down at the square.
Yeah.
You get a tax map and you draw a line on there around the tax map as to what you want.
Well, okay, could do
Well,
that.
and since each festival is a little bit different, what we could do in terms of the ordinance, this is just a suggestion, is that we have a policy number 13 that says, which I mentioned, that describes how we close streets, and we could say, pursuant to the established city policy for this, the chief of police and the mayor will define what area that will be off limits to animals for each particular event, and the time and the place.
I like that, you're on to something there.
And then just do the square itself and
Yeah.
the streets around it.
Because we may not need to do as much, a large an area
Right.
for the barbecue as the such.
Right.
Right.
Well, then it
That's
conflicts.
Right.
But I mean, to me, like I say, I think the idea of just download the tax map and just draw in the areas of what streets, because we know that we go up, Rollins Street about half a block, from the intersection. It comes out, do we cross, we don't really cross, the street this way.
What if
Although
you,
they're talking about possibly,
what if
you-
Go
you've
down
got-
Rollins,
it goes, down, whatever this other street is down.
Yeah, that one.
I mean, it goes, so we do include, half a block or so in some other directions.
does just saying the city square and carnival area define it enough? Or the
Normally, but if somebody's
midway
gonna
or
take it
something?
to task, if somebody's gonna take it to task, they're gonna walk right in front of Richie's Hardware along that side,
Oh, I see what, yeah.
And just,
Well, but that's city street still, because the buildings define the street line.
yes, yes.
carnival area.
How are we gonna get, I mean, if we make it variable based on the event and based on the event organizers defining where we want. How do we get that word out to people when they come? Because, you know, if I come to Anchor Festival and there's not allowed, and then I come back to the barbecue, and it's a different definition, different defined area.
Well, one practical way is putting a couple signs up on it. You put some sawhorse boundaries, and you say no animals past this point. That would work pretty well. But then you get into the
I've seen events do that.
yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that could be done is you could, I mean, it's promoted on the chamber webpage. And so you could put a document on the webpage, you know, a drawing, again, defining the area. This area, no animals, no pets.
I think it almost needs to go out to some of your advertising too.
Well, it can certainly do
Well,
that.
Get right up here 50 feet and you can't have your dog.
Yeah, and then you gotta turn around and go
We
home.
had several people to the reenactment that turned around and left because no dogs were allowed. That wasn't our rule.
No, that was reenactment.
Reenactors' rule, but.
Yeah, I mean, when you got lots of horses around, dogs
Yeah.
spook the horses and stuff.
But, you know,
you,
it would be part of the advertising as far as I'm concerned, and it should be. But I guarantee you that it doesn't make any difference how much advertising you do, there will be people that will come with their pets.
yeah.
And, you know, part of it that I see is a health hazard when you've got,
Dog
you know,
sitting.
you know, dogs, crapping through the park, you got little kids out there, and you got a lot of food.
What's your all's pleasure with respect to something like Mr. Harline's talking about? Trying to encompass that in that rule versus an ordinance?
If there's a policy that's already in place, then I certainly think that we should.
There already is for street closing.
Well, it's for street closing.
It's for street
There already
closing,
is
yes.
one for street closing.
So we use that and we incorporate that maybe into this ordinance. But again, I still think that the best thing to do is to, you know, just have a map showing which areas that you're defining.
Right.
All right,
What's being closed.
so you would still do your ordinance like you're thinking about, but include that policy 13 or what do you call it, rule 13?
Would we be able to just amend,
Number 13, yes.
would we just be able to amend policy number 13 to include?
Well,
this
no,
portion of it,
he said
or-
that includes, it tells you that either the board of aldermen makes the decision or the mayor and the police chief make the decision.
To close
So-
streets, and then
Right.
and then we would say that as part of their when they decline it, declare the areas where the streets are closed, that they can also define an area where the animals. And I guess I don't know if we have to amend. I see what you're saying. We might
We just
Might need to
amend
amend
that policy as well.
rather
Right.
than enact a whole new ordinance.
Or you could just say, you know, the animals are prohibited from the areas where the streets are closed per city policy 13, whatever.
Can you enforce, can I enforce that?
That's up to mayor to decide, but yeah, I would think so.
I would think so.
I don't know how you enforce that without an ordinance.
I mean, I think we need this ordinance, but I think we need the language in there about referring to the city policy 13.
Okay, okay.
And maybe even language in there that, you know, a map will be provided showing what's to be closed.
Yeah, I gotta have an ordinance. That's all there is to it.
I mean,
I think it puts you on much firmer ground.
right, I want an ordinance in place,
Go ahead and make an ordinance then.
because I don't think that you really do have any legal grounds otherwise, and that's where we are now. I mean, I guess you could throw them out for being a nuisance, but,
And just one other thing, although according to Rule 13, yes, the mayor and I can close the streets, okay? But unless it's changed since Mr. Harlan's been city administrator is also the traffic engineer
Yeah,
Yes.
and can close streets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more for traffic needs, but you know, it's. I mean, I'm not trying. I just don't want to create.
No, I get it. but-
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I assume that we asked for specific streets to be closed for, we haven't.
No, for
I
parades
never
and
have.
stuff or something.
No,
yeah.
No.
no, we just always did.
Yeah, I mean, they just show.
Okay, well, let's use our policy and we'll create a map for what we want closed.
Resolution 91-5 said, one or more public streets and alleys may be wholly or partially closed on a temporary basis for gathering, festivals, block parties, etc. Only by a vote of the Board of Aldermen or written permission of both the mayor and the chief of police. Allowance for a street shall be specified a time for closure. For the closure of streets allowed, may require a written application for such closure be required, and may set such conditions at each closure as it believes are appropriate. In particular, may require a person or firm requesting the closure.
I think that needs to be referenced in this ordinance.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
The policy is not intended to apply to temporary street or alley closures made necessary by maintenance or construction performed by public utilities. Those are the ones I get.
But I mean, I think once a map is made, it's like, yeah, we want the same as last year.
Right.
And, you know, the map can be kept on the chamber website, from year to year, because that's one thing that you know is going to be pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Unless you start expanding the areas very much, and we're about at the limits of what we can really expand
Yeah.
and do anything.
Yeah. If the car show keeps growing, we're gonna be in Thompson and Clark pretty quick.
But again, I'm not sure that we need to worry about
Right.
the car show portion.
Right.
There's a lot of people that walk through the car show.
Well, I realize that, but you don't have the crowds
Really?
and everything that what you
I mean,
need.
the
And
dogs-
you don't have the food vendors down there either.
Yeah, but you still got the kids walking through there
I realize that.
and all that.
But the car show has not, people have not said it's a problem to them.
Well, I mean, we can always start with a small area.
Right.
See how
I
it
think we
works.
start with the Anchorfest area. If the car show people want to be included for their, because they have a problem, then we can expand to that.
He's on to something, where we're gonna start.
I mean,
He's on to something.
I know
the
what
car
you're saying.
show comes right down, right in front of the city square. I mean, how are you gonna
Yeah.
block that off?
Well,
Right
I
down
realize
Allen, right, turns right there in front of Clemens Real Estate, so they're not gonna be able to walk right through there, cause that's gonna be prohibited.
Well, and there have been years that the car show's been on Singleton all the way up to Richards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that, you're gonna
That has
prohibit,
been the
no
case.
animals in there.
Well,
Yeah.
if we close the road down for the car show, wouldn't that fall under the same?
But only half the
Road's
intersection
closed,
is really
so-
close.
You're right.
So, I mean, they can still get through there if they want.
That's a fine line, I mean, if
My
you
thing
close.
is, I'd just like to be able to somehow get the word out, because nothing I dislike more than a law-abiding citizen
Yes.
suddenly
Right.
becomes a lawbreaker through no knowledge of their own.
Right.
I don't know why Anchorfest, you couldn't go to Barnes Street, to Switzer Street, to Hickman, to Jefferson.
But, you know, it's just, to me,
No
it's kind of
animals
like
in any of them
alcohol. Well,
Well, then I won't be able to get my dog out.
Well, where you live on Jefferson.
My point exactly.
But, you know, to me.
Why do I have to adjust my, life
Habits. Yeah.
around the Anchor Festival?
But I mean, we've had people that walk in with alcohol, and you know, I've never called the police on anybody. But I've told people it's against the law to have alcohol in here. You know, if you don't get rid of it, the cops will stop you for it. And you know, I've never had anybody that had a problem with that. Oh, thank you, I appreciate you knowing that. Sometimes they'll kill their beer right there and then they'll throw it away. But I mean, and that's fine. They're not carrying alcohol around, and they won't bring another one in because they now know what the rule is. You know, I don't think this is gonna be a huge enforcement thing. I think once people realize this is the rule, they will leave voluntarily. But we do need to define an area, and to me, the limits of what we, pretty much of what we barricade off is what we're trying to define as the area. If car show people decide they want to be included within that, and theirs is barricaded also, we can always expand to that.
Has the chamber made any specific recommendation about this?
no.
Well, no, because
Not
we haven't even
officially.
discussed this, because they haven't seen this yet.
No.
But we can discuss it tomorrow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Full agenda, I don't.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
I just want something that,
Yeah.
You want it enforceable.
I do, and I don't wanna have an officer getting a fist fight over this, but when it gets down to it, but I think we need, I gotta have an ordinance, that's all there is to it, and how we go about it's quite another thing.
Well, I think Don had something here when we need this ordinance, but we need it to reference the rule so that it has the enforceable teeth, so to speak, that Larry needs to enforce it.
Well, and that way we've got defined limits, because there's a method of getting that done now.
Right.
Okay, one more thing, and I'm done talking about it. Can we just say Anchor Fest? I mean, the barbecue's not that.
Well, this doesn't require that any
Right.
festival be closed.
Right.
This only allows it, that we can,
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Okay, so barbecue would not,
no, it could be done, but, I'm guessing that this would only apply if we choose for it to apply. And maybe we need some language in there that, we're not saying that you have to kick animals out of a fair or a carnival, but there is the option of doing that.
Give us the option.
So we could
Give
include
us an
language
option
where,
to enforce.
I don't know, I
whatever
think
you
you're
want to
fighting a losing
enforce.
battle.
Well, no, an option to, whether or not you're going to close it to animals.
I know, and that's just another variable out there that I have to try to pick through when I
And
want
who
to come
makes
to
that
the
decision?
festival.
Who makes
I
that
think you're
decision?
fighting a losing battle.
you might be onto something. We're just trying to get something that we as a police department can try for the betterment of everyone concerned.
I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's as impossible as it sounds. It's tricky, and chief needs to have specific, bright lines where something's okay and something's not. And then when the actual occurrence happens, mostly they're going to walk up to people and say, we've had problems with, they're trained in how to talk to people.
And we'll have signage out.
Yeah,
It's true, we might have some growing pains.
yeah. And the law-abiding citizen has brought their dog, their very well-behaved dog, to Anchor Fest for 17 years, is going to be a little miffed. But I think most of them are going to understand that there have been a couple of problems, and one of the big things that we had in Fulton the Street Fair was dogs fighting with each other. I don't know if that's been an issue here, but
No, there's usually been few enough of them
Yeah.
that they haven't, but, I mean,
I haven't seen that.
No, I've never seen that.
and then actually the python, or the whatever it was, kind of freaked some people out, and that's when we decided we would put up signs and let people know that the animals aren't allowed. Now, we also had the animal shelter with a booth with animals in it.
Yeah,
So-
the Department of Natural Resources or something like that,
Yeah.
they've got some birds that they've saved.
So people
And
get, they get the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those animals were either in a little pen or on a leash and kept in their
Right.
spot.
So did,
And the vendors had to keep their animals in their spot.
so did you have an ordinance in Fulton, or did you just post signs and hope that worked?
In the request that the street fair committee every year would come, they actually wrote out a 5-page list of what they wanted and came to the council, and the council approved that. And in that one they added the allowing open containers, but not allowing, because there's alcohol at street fair,
Right.
but not allowing animals. And it's been enforced, and it hasn't been. I'm not gonna say there weren't any problems, but it has been enforceable. I mean, a lot of this is just community awareness. So if the first year is a
can you
little,
get us a copy of that? Or, Fulton's ordinance?
sure. See,
It's not an ordinance, is it?
well, I'll get you the information on how they do it.
No, I mean, there's just some areas and we just kind of, that's why we brought it up for discussion and why I wanted it early enough to discuss.
Right.
To make sure that we can get the things ironed out so it's not a problem.
I'll bring you back some more information on how we do it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Further budget discussions. General government.
That's, as far as the utilities, I think that the budget that you have presented, and I think there's some edits that need to be done in terms of the summation pages. But I think that it's a workable budget. There isn't a lot of new equipment. There is the valve insertion machine is there. Mike was telling me that he's got we're gonna have them demo one here and put in a couple valves, maybe as early as next week. And it is possible that the price would be less than what we have in the budget, but that doesn't require us to adjust the budget. We just wouldn't spend all of it, and that's okay. The problem is that if you look on, I think it's page, it's really early on, like page 5, I think. The budget that I have presented you for the general fund is not workable. We need to fix something. If to buy the fire truck or to put the $44,000 down on the fire truck and to purchase a front loader, which I have in the budget at $112,000, and that may be actually kind of an ambitious or a rosy picture of how much it would cost. The state bid is $140, and Phil thinks that much on trade-in on our current front loader, which we've had to do some repairs on this year recently, in the order of hundreds to lower thousands of dollars. That he thinks that's I'm being overly optimistic that it would cost that little. I have not looked into the possibility, although I could during this week, and actually talk to Phil about it. And he's going to call the vendor. We're going to talk to the vendor about the possibility of buying that in pieces, or a lease purchase. There's $66,000 in there, which would be enough to do both lining both the Gano Chance and Jefferson Street culverts. We would save $2,500 to do them both in the same year, and Phil is concerned that those are at least one of them, the bottom has rusted out almost entirely. At some point, they contribute to the structural integrity of the road, and neither one of those roads would be a bad thing that would happen. I'm not going to say that's going to happen next year. I don't think that would happen. So,
but we don't want it to happen.
Yes, if it happened, it would. If I was wrong and it did happen and we didn't, so that's what's in there right now. So if I can find a way to fund the front loader in more than 1 year, which I know is a possibility, it's not one that I like. Again, you're spending money on interest on a piece of equipment.
Right.
That equipment, both a fire engine and a front loader, are going to last for a number of years. It's not like we're buying I don't mean to pick on the chief, but if I told you I wanted to buy a police car and pay it off in 5 years, you should throw me out of here quickly.
Oh.
So.
Okay, go ahead, but let's get the cart deal done before we leave.
We've had, so.
Well, the only question I have about the one culvert that he says is rusted out, can you line that and maintain the structural integrity?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's a good question.
Or is it going to cost more than that, is the question.
I think they've looked at these are specific bids for these specific locations.
Okay.
My understanding is that they looked at them, but I will double check them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course,
Because I certainly think that they both probably need to be done, and I think sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
and I know that this puts back the Midland GIS stormwater, and when you're looking at some of the some of my least favorite headaches have been trying to talk to citizens about stormwater issues and, you know, having a long-term plan. I don't know if I have favorite headaches, and so I'd love to get that done. And we've started the Miles Street Ditch project, and it was slated to go this year and next year, and it wasn't done. So, and it's possible as we get closer to the end of the year and find out what it is and isn't going through, that maybe the fund balance will be a little bit better than I think, and therefore, but we're getting pretty close to the end. I need to work with Heather and make sure that and it's a little bit, it's gotten better. It looks like we're gonna have a positive year. In addition, this budget suggests transferring $80,000 from electric to the general fund and $35,000 into the cemetery, which is more than we've done in the past. Now, we spent $80,000, we budgeted $50,000 to work on this bill, $53,000 to work on this building. So if you consider that as kind of, we're not doing that next year.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have anyway, so the only way to get everything we want would be to lease purchase, I think, on upfront. I didn't think I'd ever asked to do that.
Is it urgent enough that we can't put it off a year?
I believe so.
What's exactly wrong with it?
The last
Major repair that we had.
last major repair had to do with the hydraulics on the bucket. It was $2,500.
In other words, it probably needs a major overhaul.
It's got 7,500 hours on it.
It probably isn't a huge amount, it just needs more work than what we need to really afford to put into it.
And the one thing that's not there in the budget is a dump truck.
Okay.
So that was on Lynn's list to replace this year, but I didn't think it was going to be very possible to do both of those this year. Neither did he, really. I said, how do you pay for both of those this year? And he said, well, that's your problem. Or words to that effect. I mean, he didn't say it quite that bluntly or with that, you know, it was a smile on his face.
Sure he did. Yeah.
But,
All right.
so.
Lots to think about.
Did you guys have
They're still looking for guidance on that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, how many of you would be able to sleep nights with the idea we have $4,000 in there for potential police? And I don't want to not have that money in there, because as we discovered, not having anything ready to go delayed the possibility of purchasing, kept us from purchasing a mini pumper that was for sale.
Yeah.
Also, if we decide we want to go the way of designing our own, that puts that purchase out at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, you know, time is money, and if we delay the purchase of it, we will have a better, I mean, theoretically the cost would go up, but we would, in this case, that shorter time, we would have a better idea of what options we had in 6 months for a mini pumper.
Well, how soon are you going to be able to talk with them?
Huh?
How soon are you going to be able to talk with them?
I can talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, I'm not
That
sure
was
that
for a demo, it was used, but just never really used, it was just shown around.
Shown all over. They took it all
So
over.
is it show and tell?
Which I would almost consider new, really.
Yeah.
It probably had more miles on it per hours than you would normally have on a fire truck at that point, but it never been.
Used as a fire truck.
In our use, we'll reverse that in short fashion.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it had more options than we would use.
I mean, it had foam tank and stuff like that on it, which I really don't think we need on the. And he told me, he said, we could knock down price considerably we can sit down and look at actually what you need.
No.
And for insurance ratings and stuff, you know, it did have a 1,000-gallon pump on it, which is what would help, you know. the city.
And that's another reason why I think it's important to move forward with buying a vehicle, a fire truck soon, because I got our last ISO rating in 2000 something or other. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's going to come again, and the rules have tightened and.
Oh, they've changed, you know, one of the rules, for instance, is the fire station's gonna be within 1.5 miles of your furthest resident. We screwed that up by all these, even out there at the country club, and out there at Cobblestone.
You know, I think it's important that we're staged, ready to pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's important, whatever that is. I just don't know what that number is.
Right.
I think if we could hold off on a loader, I'd rather buy the fire truck. I mean, we got other loaders we can use.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly easier to rent a loader than it is a fire truck.
I mean, we got backhoes with buckets on there that they can scoop up with and everything else.
Well, that's true.
I mean, what do they use the big loader for? That they can't use the backhoe for.
Well, loading rock is, you know, is one of the things. Loading sand and stuff into the back of the trucks when it comes time for, and then some in snow removal, but there are some projects where the loader is the tool you want to have.
I mean, do they need that big of a four-wheel loader?
I asked, Phil thinks they do, but we could look into getting it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get it over the side of a truck, you got to have a certain height. We don't have the biggest trucks.
You can get a skid loader over a dump truck with a 2x12 on the side. Do it every day.
Well, is he foreseeing more repairs coming down? I mean, is there more wrong with it? And that's the questions we should have asked last week.
Yes. I mean, it's not going to get younger.
Right.
I mean, how long will those last repairs hold? It's always a guess.
Well, I mean, he would have a feeling for that, knowing what the repair
Right.
was. Was it a true repair? Was it a stopgap to limp it down the road for 6 months?
When I started the process of putting the budget together, I had the dump truck in there and the wheel loaders maybe, and he said we need the wheel loader more than the dump truck. But do we absolutely have to have a dump truck? Do we absolutely have to have a wheel loader this year? You know, I'll get you. It's a 99, and yeah, he says over 7,500 hours on it. Well, it started this year at 7338.
Well, my only concern about delaying, that's not to say that we wouldn't want to delay anyway, but would be if we're having trouble with both the fire truck and the loader now, next year we're gonna have the problem with the loader and the dump truck.
Right.
I mean, you can cascade this and get yourself in a bind too.
Well,
But what I'm saying is, do they need that big of a loader?
Right, and I understand that. And
I mean, because you can buy a cheaper loader
right.
to do the same type of stuff. Do they need that big of a loader? Is my thing.
Right.
And that would save some money right there.
Exactly.
Let me get you an answer. I'll get it to you before, and I won't wait until it won't be in the pack. I'll talk to Phil about that. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to Boone County Community Health Fund RFP. Kelly Wallace, who works with the Boone County and also with their he's come out a different way. Boone County Hospital has in their lease a requirement of giving $500,000 a year to the county to use to improve the health in Boone County.
the health of the citizens of Boone County. And that is a very broadly defined, anything from trails to a clinic. So they're preparing to send out an RFQ, request for proposals or request for qualifications. And they're developing an online application process that is targeted to nonprofits and government organizations. Among some of the projects and we are certainly encouraged to get applications from Centralia or organizations that serve Centralia. And I wanted to make you all aware of this. The first call, they're looking at as much as putting out as much as a little over $1 million. The lease with Boone Hospital ends in 2017. It is not guaranteed that future leases will contain the stipulation of $500,000 a year. They have not spent a lot of the money, and they currently have in the order of about $3 million. But they want to approach it until they know that until that source of funding will go on, to try and develop a application process and application scoring that this money will be around for at least 4 or 5 years, or 5 or 6 years. So there are a list of studies and evaluations of healthcare in Boone County, and they've identified several particular target areas such as access to healthcare, reducing obesity, and some other items. And if you know of organizations that might be available to apply for that. I know one of our needs is to bring a physician to have a private practice in Centralia. I'm not saying that's impossible, but it is. I guess if the city wanted to get a grant to subsidize a physician's business here, I don't know that would be impossible, but it'd be an odd. I haven't asked that specific question, but there's the money is out there. I hope there's something. I'd like to work with anybody or assist, any organizations out there. And it's all types of health, wellness, better exercise, mental health. And one of the things that noted in the study was there is a huge disparity in outcomes, particularly between African American citizens of Boone County and whites, which is actually I was surprised at how big a disparity it was. So those are some of the issues that they're looking at trying to use some of this funding for. And typically the grant's a little complicated, so it's not something to do, but it's not something you can do in 5 minutes.
Spur of the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, that was I've been serving on that committee, and I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that funding source is out there.
Legislation affecting Centralia city government.
I just wanted to know, are you guys following the MML hearings, etc.? Particularly, would we want to do anything as letter of support, a resolution, particularly to try and at least amend, if not defeat, the proposal that says that cities cannot Bill 260, Senate Bill 266, say that we cannot compete with the private sector in any business that they offer. Essentially, it was originally drafted so that cities wouldn't go out and try and compete directly with telecom businesses. As innocuous as that might be, even though there might be good reasons for cities to put what's called dark fiber in the ground, so you put the fiber in a conduit in the ground when you're doing you're putting in your water, your sewer, your electric. And so that when a company comes along, you have a resource. The city gets a little bit of a reward, a financial reward for thinking entrepreneurially, and you have and you can get better internet service to your community, which could be the highway of the next economy. Whether or not that's a bad idea, the way it's drafted it currently could be construed to mean that we can't provide trash service, possibly even electric service, or at least not expand it beyond what we're doing now. You know, these things are drafted to go after a specific purpose. Sometimes they're not drafted very tightly. That one wasn't drafted very tightly. So, have you guys done resolutions like that in the past?
I think we have.
Is this something you feel?
Not regularly, but
Yeah.
we have in the past.
I question whether with the legislature we have will do much good. Because on the one hand, they're complaining that the federal government is telling them they can't do things or that they have to do things, and then they do the same thing to us. But they talk about local responsibility and everything, and then they do things like this. I just find it rather ironic. And I don't have much faith in this legislature for following our wishes.
Well,
I'm not saying that we shouldn't try, I'm just saying that
right.
don't have much faith in it.
I'm almost as cynical. Yeah, I'm almost as cynical as you are. But among others, Caleb Rowden was one of those who thought that the omnibus sales tax exemption bill last year was not done very well, and they voted. They did not override the veto of that bill. So I mean, there is some. It's not as rosy as it used to be, but there is some hope.
I realize that.
And the other thing is, you know, if you guys ever wanted to have a open breakfast meeting or something, or with, I think Caleb would be more than happy to come talk to us at some point.
I think Kurt would too.
Yeah.
And I have sent emails concerning some of these things that MML has sent out.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So is that good enough, individual emails, or would you guys rather have a resolution drafted on this particular bill?
I think individual emails.
All right.
I think 6 or 7 of those would be as effective as
Resolution.
unless you just feel like reading something.
All right. Do you guys need any additional information? Are you getting everything you need from the? Are you guys getting enough information from the MML that you feel you have what you need to write such a, if so inclined, to write such an email? Because they do send out those. You guys, are you all receiving the weekly legislative updates? Okay. All right. I'm done my part.
Well, if someone will make a motion for us to go into closed session and read the little
Paragraph at the bottom.
exactly the verbiage.
I'll be glad to read it.
Anyone, please? Bigger?
I think it has to be an elected official.
All right. I make a motion that we go into to a closed session and hold, and with possibility of holding a closed vote. The purpose of such closed session and closed vote shall be as provided under section 610.021, subsection 1 of the revised statutes of Missouri for legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public government body or any confidential or privileged communication between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys, as provided under section 610.021, subsection 3 of the revised statutes of Missouri for hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting a particular employee by a government body.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Don't ask me to do that again.
Motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are now in closed session.
How long will you be back there? Do you have any idea?
If I had a crystal ball, I could tell you.
Okay, that duly noted.
I don't think any of us.
20 minutes?
15 to 20.
15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think any of us feel overly winded.
Yeah,
You want me to page it or text you?
it's already after, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. I'm just gonna check on two things over there. I'll be right back.
I would return that phone call right quick, but my phone says critically low.
So it's critical.
I think that it's about.
Mr. Harlan issued package stuff together.
I've been here since 2007, so it's hard, isn't it?
No, this guy was coaching when I was in graduate school. 89, 87, something like that.
Well, I keep getting them dirty looks.
It's not gonna make any difference.
Red line at time.
Everyone's friend. Thank you. I just ate a Reese's peanut butter cup and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Did you say you're passing around a peanut butter cup?
No, I ate it. I would have, but I didn't know how long you'd be in there, so I went in and ate
Wow.
it.
Didn't want them to melt.
Thank you, sir.
Well, moving on to Esme Rise. Do you have any Esme Rise?
Well, that park thing. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Esme Rise and remembered or
Yeah.
not? Okay. Well, then I would entertain a motion to.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we are adjourned.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Don't forget to go to the credit meeting on the 24th.
Don't forget to turn the camera on.
I already forgot.
It's easy. Like, I'll switch it.